point, Turkish secularism means anti-Islamic attitude, but that has changed over the last 20 years, thanks to the leadership of Tayyip Erdogan. But hopefully, you need to increase that amount. You know, in the United States, many people say that why do you live in the United States? If you take this, in the top, the administration, the politicians, or the member of Congress, when you come to the civil level, it's a wonderful country. You can do whatever you like. You can even practice your religion better in the United States than in many Muslim countries. Nobody is going to question your practicing your faith, having a connection with God. But as soon as you bring Islam in the social discourse, that you want to do Islamic finance, for example, so I'm the lone warrior over there. I'm doing jihad, sitting in the United States, but nobody can touch me because of protection of my freedom of speech. So like you, this is the last week of classes at the University of New Orleans before the spring semester ends. But I came to give some lectures and something to do. The university does not, knowing the fact that I'll be doing it. So how many Muslim countries you can say we have this freedom of speech? You know, West have borrowed all the ideas from us. We are very good in preaching, but not practicing. And the third component is akhlaq, but within the Sharia, there are different components. You have the ibadah, and you have the muamala. Again, ibadah is man to God worship. Yes, we have different madhab. Yeah, I believe Turkey is majority Hanafi madhab, so is Bangladesh. There are different ways, but there is practice, but there is connection between you and God. Again, whether you pray or not pray, yeah, let's go brother pray, but I cannot force you to pray. As long as you do not prevent me from praying. But when it comes to muamala, I have to interact with you every day. Business, politics, going to the voting, do whatever, buying a ticket. So those kind of activities, muamala, I'm talking about here, and within the muamala, you have different activities, political activities, you have the economic activities, you have the social activities. Within the economic activities, you have other economic and finance activities, and you have banking and financial activities. Now, there is a misunderstanding, or I think it's not right way of thinking, that whenever you look at Islamic economy in general, we mean Islamic bank, because this is something visible. But Islamic economics is not Islamic bank. Islamic bank is a minor portion of the entire ecosystem. But there is a reason why we did not have a holistic Islamic economic model or do bits and pieces, because it is easy to do. Islamic banking is a lot of money to make. You know, every country, if you look at Islamic banking performance and their profit figure, the bottom line is the most profitable industry or financial institution in any Muslim country. So, having said this, what is Islamic worldview? Who is a Muslim by definition? So, we believe in one God. Allah is the only source of value. We are created all equal, no difference, ashraf, atraf, resources are trust from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is happening to climate change, I'm sure, being young, you are very sensitive to that. Humans are Khalifa, vicegerent, and Allah has given us free will as well. But as a Muslim, we submit to the will of God, and how the will of God is being revealed is express revelation. And what is the revelation? Sources of knowledge. We have the revealed knowledge, which is called Sharia, Quran, and then Hadith and Sunnah. And then you have the derived knowledge, we call Al-Qiyas, Ijma, consensus, and other urf, some tradition. So, coming back to sources of law of Islam, Sharia, revealed knowledge, Quran, which is recited, Hadith is unrecited. Recited means Jibril brought Quran to the Prophet. And Hadith or Sunnah, it was unrecited. It was a practice that we have to follow because Allah not only sent His word to the world, He has also sent a person, a human being, who can show it to his follower how to practice it. So whenever we talk about innovation, we cannot innovate anything. So there are two Islamic law classified. One is called ibadah, the relationship between you and God. Any act which is not legalized by Sharia from the Quran and Sunnah is void. So a simple definition, anything that you do against Quran is kufr, and anything that you do against Hadith or Sunnah is bidat, right? So we have to be careful, and that structure really kept Islam as still a complete whole in terms of following the tenets. If you look at Christianity, there's so many different branches, but it's not disintegrated because of this basic structure that has been followed by the Muslims and also practiced and taught by our greatest scholars over the years. The second one is Muhammad, which is full flexible. Everything is allowed unless forbidden by Sharia. But the problem that we have, and because historically that is also a mistake and it's a failure of our religious class, and as a result, there was a revolution in this country too, the abuse by the religious establishment. What we have done, the religious scholars, we have made 90% of the world like haram, only 10% halal. But if you read the Quran and this Sunnah, you'll find Allah has really opened the entire world for you, halal, 90%. Only 10% haram. So our understanding and knowledge, the way we lead our life, has to be changed, and the change will come from the younger generation like you. You will bring the new thinking within the parameter of Islam. Now, as I said, when we talk about Muhammad, the no, the haram, the big red one is riba. And I'm sure you have taken classes, riba. Allah did not make haram very first time. He said something bad. And the fourth ayah, and fourth stages, Allah has said, this is the final. So there we really differ from other monotheistic religions, like Christianity and Judaism. The Judaism still, they practice no riba among themselves. You cannot really, if you follow the Talmud or the religious book, one Jew cannot charge interest and from another Jew, but they can charge interest from non-Jew. In Christianity, tax is still there, but the church leaders historically changed. They said we can have some sort of fair rate of return. And what is the fair rate of return? During the medieval times, they said it 5%. So the ayah said, "O who believe, be afraid of Allah and give up what remains from riba if you are believers. And if you do not do it, then take a notice of war from Allah and His Messenger." It is so strong. Allah has declared against His creation, if you don't stop doing it, I'm going to declare war. Allah does not come, with His angels. He leads the society to downfall. Right now, if you look at the debt structure, I do not know the figure in Turkey, but in the United States, it's about 213% of GDP. $35 trillion. We keep borrowing money. And we are like, short-term, fun and happy life of this borrowed money. And if there are only 8 people owns the 50% of the US wealth, that based on, and there has been a lot of empirical theoretical studies show that debt creation is amplified by the use of interest. The interest is the root of all this debt creation, inequality in the system, war that we see is happening in Gaza. You will find some connection with the way it is being financed. Right now, $95 billion in the US Congress has passed a bill for 61 will go to Ukraine. And it is a war between United States and Russia. But financed and fought by Ukraine people. They are the people, because United States don't want to send their troops over there. Point I'm trying to say, in Israel, $26 billion. They are killing people right now, genocide. Everybody says, but still we are contributing. Now, where this money will come from? How? Because there's a debt ceiling. Because your tax, we have a great tax scholars, professors here. Your tax revenue doesn't increase, so you start borrowing, printing money. You increase your debt limit, and so the whole society is becoming indebted. Who is going to pay for it? Our generation. Of course, our tax rate will also go up because we have to support this. So there are two types of riba, riba al-fadl in exchange, and riba al-nasiya that deals with time. So what is riba al-fadl? There's a famous hadith that when you deal with gold for gold, silver for silver, wheat for wheat, barley for barley, dates for dates, salt for salt, like for like, equal for equal, and hand to hand. If the commodities differ, then you may sell as you wish, provided that exchange is hand to hand. And riba al-nasiya, that dilated time. So I borrow money from Nazmul for 1 year, I'm going to pay it back. When the time comes, if you can pay back, double it. I double the amount, then you pay it later. So that related to the time, that was a practice during the time of the Prophet, and the Prophet, that type of riba al-nasiya. Let's analyze this riba al-fadl. So there are 6 types of commodities here. You're getting bored already? You have to say something, otherwise I can move forward. You're okay?
Yes.
So there are 6 types of commodities mentioned in the hadith. If we divide it, there are currency, gold and silver, and there are staple food during the time, wheat, barley, dates, and salt. So let's look at the type, function, role, and example. If the two of these things are the same, the role of engagement exchange should be equal amount in the spot. For example, gold for gold. So you have 1 kilogram gold will be exchanged for another kilogram of gold. Whether 1 kilogram is high quality or low quality does not matter. It has to be in the spot, quality does not matter. And if you don't like it, what you need to do, you need to sell your high quality gold, get the cash, and use the cash to buy the low quality gold. But if you want to do gold for gold, you have to do it equal exchange. Second one, they are different, but the function is the same. You have to trade this on the spot. For example, gold and silver. They are different, but the function is the same. They are used for medium of exchange. And that exchange has to happen on the spot, not in the future. But they're different and different. You can free to trade. For example, you can exchange gold for wheat. So I, use 10 ounces of gold, so many ounces of wheat. That's fine. You can do it right now. You can do it in the future. Pay now. You take the delivery future. So you're free to trade. So if you dissect that hadith, this is what it means. Let's look at what are the properties of this riba al-fadl and loan riba or riba al-nasiya, that it is based upon time. The property. Riba al-fadl has a luxurious properties. I don't like this low quality date, man's rich man, or my social status. So you want to buy a high quality date. Fine, do that. I don't want to drive this cheap, Bangladeshi made car. I want to do a German Audi. Fine. So this has a luxurious property attached to this. But the loan riba, when you want to borrow money, historically, don't try to confuse this with doing a business. I'm talking about during the time of the Prophet. Why do you need money? Because you don't have enough. So it's a time-dependent property. The demand, the riba al-fadl, luxurious car demanded by the rich, but loan riba, I need loan to buy food because I do not have enough food to buy the needy. Elasticity, because luxurious good, if you don't come from economics background, you know this elasticity of demand. The luxurious good, if you can increase the price a little bit, lower or down, you can influence the demand. But for loan riba, necessities by the needy people are low elasticity. That means regardless even if you increase the price so many times, I need to buy the bread for my family. I'm going to buy the same amount. Price gap is coming from exogenous because you create this advertisement in this, it's called conspicuous consumption in society. But loan riba is very much endogenous process because needy people need money to buy their commodities. When you talk about stability, this riba al-fadl creates loan stability because that doesn't affect the majority of the society. But the loan riba, the one that we talk about, is a very high instability because that can create social tension, that can create social revolution, riots, and so on. So now the question is, I need to find an operational definition of riba. So let's start with, what is the purpose of loan in Islam? So Nazmul comes and asks me, hey, Prof, you know, I don't have money this month, I'm short on cash, can I borrow 100? So my intention would be to help him. But I want a guarantee from Nazmul. Okay, fine, but you have to give me your cycle as a collateral. I can keep it. If you don't return my money, I'm going to sell your car and recover my money. I can say this. So the purpose is to help him. I guarantee he does. Okay, I can give you a guarantee either word because he's an honorable man, or if I don't believe him, you know, I take something as a collateral, but I cannot charge anything extra. No extra. Are you with me? Second purpose of money could be to save. So I go to a bank, again let's say Nazmul is a banker now. I put my money into his bank. Right now what does bank do? If you put your money into a bank, it pays you interest, whatever it is. But I should pay him actually to safeguard my money, to give the guarantee. So he gives me the guarantee, but no extra. But when you invest, you can take extra, but no guarantee. The point I'm trying to say, if you look at any financial contract, so you dissect it into different components, and if you see same contract is both extra and guarantee put together, that is riba. So many people say, oh, riba is in a, you know, during the time in the consumption, it was that's forbidden. They try to say what is riba and what is not riba. Riba, oh, it's a small riba, big riba. No, riba, small or big, every form of riba is forbidden. So this is an operational definition of riba, and it took me many years, and I'm sure if you embark on the journey, Islamic finance, you will deal with this thing, or it will, question will come to you. And as a matter of fact, during the time of Caliph Omar, he famously said one time, you know, our Prophet in the last sermon he has given during the Hujjatul Bida, last pilgrimage he has done, he said, you know, today all riba haram, I just pay my uncle's one, the whole, if you read this speech. But after that, he did not live long enough to establish a riba-free economy. He passed away, and there's a lot of confusion started after that. You know, the famous hadith is like, you know, playing with money or doing business with money, money launderer, is that it's like another business. But Allah said in the Quran, This is not business. Trade is different than exchanging money with money. Once you know this, now we turn into how we can, a riba-free economy can lead to serving the entire economy. So, finance is a means to an end. Why do you need finance? It's like a grease, right? When you drive a car, you need grease in order to run your wheel. So, to serve the economy, to mobilize and allocate financial resources, and to drive growth and development. Now, finance prior to the financial crisis, finance became an end in itself, financialization. Those who do high-level studies, because of debt proliferation, the entire world is paying more and more debt. You borrow money from the international institution, you're paying. For many years still, you have not paid anything towards your balance. This is done by one famously said by the Nigerian president. They have borrowed money 20 years ago, $5 billion. They are making payment, still they owe more than what they have borrowed. So this is what a riba-based financialization do. Now finance became the source of instability. This 2008 and 9 financial crisis is a prime example of what happened, what bad finance can do. There's a famous economist from Yale University, Robert Shiller. He's a Nobel laureate. He even came to, if you like, Islamic finance conference. He's read in a book, and if you have time, did this say the good finance. And what is a good finance? Even though he did not endorse a total Islamic finance because he grew up in the tradition of interest-based, but he's saying there are other good things that you need to do in order to contain it. Now, what happened? This 2008 and 9 financial crisis, the whole world suffered. Wide-ranging regulatory reforms was introduced after the financial crisis. Now, the whole world realized that we need to go back. What is the purpose of finance or money in an economy? So, to add value to the real economy, so money should not be an end by itself. It should be a means to an end. We need money in order to impact our economy, in order to impact our production, increase employment, increase GDP growth, and so on. Many people criticize, and actually I'm a very staunch believer of this new economic policy. Unfortunately, it didn't work. But the whole idea was that in a low interest, and even I said this, this is a conference in Turkey, this low interest policy has been followed by the West for a long period of time. China, for example, Japan, the United States. So the idea is that if you have low interest, that will spark production, and the higher production, in order to do this, you will increase employment, people will be employed. And with this increased employment, they will have more money, they will partly for increase, and the more production, the export will grow, in the money that will flow in, that will take care of your current account deficit. Because in a low interest environment, you have a current account. So that's the whole idea of happening this. Unfortunately, two events happened, the war and the COVID-19. So you did not have given enough time in this country to see the fruit of it. And of course, and consequences, the next rate volatility, high inflation, and so on. But many times we ignore the fact and what has been the experience in the United States. When interest rate was, inflation was going high, everybody says they increase the interest rate because in the United States, over the last 50 years, in my own study, whenever the inflation is going up, the Federal Reserve, the central bank, wanted to contain the inflation by increasing interest rate, and 11 out of 12 times it backfired. It ended up in recession. In the recession, who suffers? The poor people, the have-nots. The rich people never really affects them, right? they have enough money, they can buy, their life standard quality is not affected. But the quality of life is affected by the middle income, low income people, or the income people with fixed income. Because overnight you become poorer, right? From middle income person to a poorer person because you can buy the same amount of goods and services. So, ethical finance in general, and Islamic finance is part of it, it brings value to the society, long-term orientation, protect the long-term interest of its beneficiaries. It brings value and it adopts all these environmental, social and government, talk. The ESG is a buzzword. I'm sure if you do a research project, you cannot simply avoid it. It avoids high risk and speculative activities, protects the economy from distortion, increases the potential for efficient allocation of resources. Interestingly, which subject is most difficult? If I take, for example, math versus finance, which one will be more difficult? Definitely mathematics, right? Not everybody can understand the complexity and so on. But people will go, math is the foundational building of everything, right? If you go to Europe, still the tradition prevails in Europe. The smartest guy or smartest lady will study math. But in America, they will not study math, they will study finance, because soon after you graduate with a finance degree, your employability probability is higher with a higher pay. But finance is not that difficult. So what I'm saying, that an engineer, a mathematician, a physicist, a biologist, they are really bringing real ideas, real product to the society. But in finance people, I would say that I show you the dream, but the dream is being realized by these engineers, biologists and so on. I'm not saying that finance is bad, please don't listen, because I'm a finance professor, but I'm trying to show the misplaced importance. So what happens, the smartest guy, smartest lady, no longer study all these STEM subjects. They study the less important or less demanding subjects. So as a result, what is happening? The society are not getting the optimal number of engineers, biologists, chemists, and so on. Okay, don't change your field though, because I said this. Study finance, you need some good finance scholars. So bringing value to the economy is explicit in Islamic finance. It's a contractually explicit, provided generates real economic value. So a form of finance that is value adding, explicit aims to intermediate and contribute to add value to the economic activity. So Islamic finance promotes inclusively to reduce the prospect of any segment of society being financially excluded. Financial inclusion is a big word now. So we want to serve the entire society. So Islamic finance or banking, if it becomes a tool for the rich people again, then it does not fulfill its mission. What is the mission? It wants to help the entire society without segregating them. Now, these are some of the components. Islamic finance you call is profit sharing. So the rich sharing, governance, disclosure and transparency, sustainability, then discourage excessive inclusiveness. Unfortunately, these are all paradigmic versions in theory, but the practice has not followed the theory. Everybody is trying to make shortcut, make money very quickly, deviating from the main tenets of Islamic finance or Islamic values. This is where the problem is, not the Islamic finance itself, because the practice is different. Many people get confused. Many people actually say that I'm taking my money from Islamic bank. I do not see any difference. I put the money in a conventional one. So now let's look at the number. How big is the industry? So 2008 and 9, during the last financial crisis, it is about roughly $1 trillion in size. This 2019 and 20, during the COVID time, it increased by 150%. All of a sudden, Islamic finance found its way. But our goal is to increase it at 20 trillion mark. Right now, the entire Islamic finance industry in the world is less than 1% of the conventional finance industry. So we are a tiny share of the finance ecosystem. Now, when you become 5%, 10%, then people will start looking at this value proposition, and then there will be really a war between this conventional finance, Islamic finance, because they will be losing their way of making money very easily. You know, if you look at the numbers right now, or even look in Turkey too, they are always profitable. Right now, all the stocks of all the big top money center banks in the United States is going up. Why? Because they always are profitable. Very simple logic. If I borrow money, because financial intermediation, so you put your money, I pay you 3%. Same person, you come to me, want to borrow, I charge you 8%. 5% spread, so it is by definition, or by construct, is always profitable. I have never seen, I've been living in the United States for 41 years, I have never seen the banking stocks going downhill. There's a blip there, here and there, but if you look at over a long period of time, very profitable stock to invest in. Now, there is a report came out, so called LECG, and they do it every year, 2023, very recent report. So they put Islamic finance development indicators. They have a mechanism through which they rank countries. What are the top 10 countries or 15 countries? So in this case, there are 15 countries in terms of ranking. Ranking number 1 is Malaysia, number 2 is Saudi Arabia, number 3 is Indonesia. Saudi Arabia is embarking on Islamic finance recently, and Turkey somewhere in number 13. You know, 2005, I believe, the Special Finance House, the Turkish finance, Islamic finance started 2005. Tagut Özal was 2005. Anyway, 2005, I think Tagut Özal came and he gave a space to these people, the religious, you know, they want to do Islamic finance. It's called Special Finance House. And the target is of this current administration to increase the percent to 15% by 2015. Right now, as of today, in Turkey, only 7% of the industry is Islamic. So we did not even achieve half of what we are supposed to achieve by 2015. Why is that? Because we need manpower, we need people like you, so that they can create their own Islamic finance entity or work for the existing one. So the education is very important. You know, I was in Najmuddin Erbakan University, hopefully, keeping my fingers crossed, trying to establish a center for Islamic economy. You know, it's the crux of Konya, you know, the central, hopefully, inshallah, it will happen. So we need more centers like this in Turkey. We need program, full-fledged, like BS in Islamic finance and so on. So if you look at this ecosystem again, Islamic finance growth, 2020, the size of the market was 4.5 trillion. It grew 11%, and there are 1,871 financial institution, Islamic financial institution in 2022. If you look at the growth, of course, it's growing, but most of the growth are not organic. By that I mean, so a conventional bank wants to do Islamic finance. So they will do a window or a branch or a subsidiary. Again, it can be fine, but how it is being done. Because you cannot mix halal and haram in muamala. So they're saying part of their operation haram, but they want to do halal. You have to keep them separate. If you can keep them separate, that's all right. Two entities running each other, those who like conventional finance, they will do. Those who do Islamic finance, they will do the other one. Islamic banking, as I said, is the largest one, 3.2 trillion. It grew 13%. There are 610 Islamic banks in the world. If you look at it in terms of countries, if you just ignore Iran, because in Iran everything Islamic, there are 312, Saudi Arabia 720, Malaysia third, and also we have the Turkey at 63. So these are the billions of dollars that we are talking about. Now Sukuk is a capital market instrument, an alternative to conventional bond. And the Sukuk is also growing. It was 788 trillion together in 2022. Should not be trillion, should be 788 billion. 11%. And if you look at in terms of the country, Turkey is there, yes, is there. Is 20 billion in 2022 that it raised. In Turkey, there is earthquake, infrastructure development, and you can use the Sukuk as a long-term capital market instrument to support that industry. You have the Islamic Mutual Fund. Again, 222 billion, these are all billions. It declined, and there are 2,223 number of Islamic funds outstanding. Again, Islamic Mutual Fund is also made, Turkey is $7 billion. You have other financial institution is also growing. You have Takaful, Islamic insurance. In Turkey, you do have Takaful, $2 billion market is also growing. Now, when it comes for governance, recently 2022, the Turkish presidency came up with a report, and I want you to read this report. It lays out the current status of Islamic or participation finance, we call this in Turkey, and what is the future vision and strategy in order to improve the industry. So there are 52 Islamic banks have some sort of specific rules and regulation, specific accounting, 37, Takaful companies 31. So what I'm saying, that many countries, like in Islamic banking in Bangladesh started is an organic way. It's a consumer-driven industry because we don't have an Islamic banking law. Whereas in Malaysia, same year, 1983, they started Islamic banking, but they did a law first and then allowed the banks to be incorporated. So you see, starting the same level, one is running still without a law, the other one has a law. In terms of market size in Bangladesh, 30% of the market, Islamic, compared to probably 20% in Malaysia still. So you see, the people wants to run their muamala or business or the day-to-day life in an Islamic way. Recently, the new Prime Minister in Malaysia, Anwar Ibrahim, came up and started this model called Madani economy. He's trying to replicate what existed during the time of our Prophet ﷺ. Sustainability is a big word. The total level in sustainable sukuk is $24.4 billion. So these are the numbers there. Now here comes the knowledge one. You know there are 880 Islamic finance education providers in the world. There are 488 Islamic finance degree providers, 129 Islamic finance journals, and I edit one of them, 3,831 Islamic finance research paper published in 2022. But in terms of awareness, 107 Islamic finance seminars. You know, Turkey frequently, regularly have Islamic finance because it's a very popular Istanbul destination. You know, all the facilities are there. And I have been probably on the average coming to Turkey once a year, but mostly to Istanbul. Now let's move to Islamic finance brings value and sustainability to society. So what it does, objective is you want to achieve social good while generating financial returns. So it's not feasibility. I give you money, yes, there is Islamic social finance, there is a component there, it's neglected, and what is under Islamic social finance? You have the zakat, you have the Qardul Hassan, you have Waqf, rich history in Turkish peninsula here, but it is still playing a very big role in Turkey. The foundations is very powerful. They have helped educating, the generations of students, still it does. Social good and practicing social good. How social issues are being addressed to optimize positive impact on society, economy, well-being and development, and contributing back to the community. Now, when you talk about bringing value to the society, Islamic finance engages in socially responsible activities to assist individuals and societies to enhance their living and environmental conditions. So, objective again, we promote social trust, cooperation and solidarity. It requires balance between individual rights and rights of the society and state. So every government should find a balance. So any country, when party takes over the state, that creates a problem. When the state takes over the citizens, that's also a problem. In Bangladesh, has become a one-party state. They have election, but one party. It has become a Chinese model, but started with the democracy. In Turkey, democracy is working. You have an election, you have a way of kicking out one government you don't like and so on. That is the model actually I support, and this is more aligned to the Islamic values. And many people say they're probably not, in the theocratic state, but I'm not with that. That's a long discussion. So what I'm saying, Islamic finance, doing good is encouraged. It does not subscribe to encroachment on anyone's property rights. It is always fair. It promotes comprehensive human development and stimulate economic activity and entrepreneurship while addressing poverty and inequality. Let me tell you, there is another study done. It has shown what is the connection between debt financing and fertility. And the fertility rate is declining in the more indebted society because you have to work harder to pay back and you don't have time to produce babies or make babies. And that will become a big problem in the Muslim world too. In Bangladesh, it's a very tiny country. We have 180 million people, but because of this population control, the birth rate has gone down to less than 2. Turkey is the same situation probably. You'll see sooner or later it will come back to haunt you. In this still Islamic world, we have family values, and the West has lost it completely. The definition of family, you'll be confused what is a family, of different types of way of defining it, and the divorce rate is having an impact on the people, and it has a direct connection with interest-based financing. Now, when you talk about research project, these are the areas should be promoted, should looked into. Islamic finance and ESG, yes, the banks, when it gives a loan, so you come and ask for a loan, you want to build an industrial plant. I should ask, just don't because, it's a 10%, profit margin into Islamic way, conventional way. I should ask the question, how the activity is going to contribute to the pollution. If it pollutes, I should force you so that you try to find an alternative operational mechanism that will lower the pollution and it's not going to affect the environment that way. So ESG, I have a series of empirical paper data, crunching, where I show ESG does not really hurt a financial institution. It does help a financial institution in the long run in terms of having a better performance. Then you have Islamic social finance. So ethical finance and Islamic finance, somehow they are very closely aligned. Now, ethical finance, of course, the value proposition comes from the environmental sustainability is one of the goals. But in Islamic finance, the principles are coming from Quran and Sunnah. So what does Islamic finance do? It do good and prevent harm by targeting the environment in a fair and just manner. With a moderation avoiding wastage and excesses, treat everybody being with mercy and duty of care to protect and keep the safe the next generation. Now, when you talk about methodology, conventional finance, because they don't care about riba, because their system is based on interest. So what do they care about? They care about, okay, what is their ESG score? How it is affecting the environment? How it is affecting the society? How it is affecting the governance? But Islamic finance, many people say that we must emphasize too much on the negative screening. What is the negative screening? Riba? No. Gharar? No. But we do not look at positive screening. What does positive screening mean? Yeah, I give you a loan, fine. It fulfills all the conditions of Sharia, fine. But you are taking this loan and building something, a dam, or building some sort of industrial activity that's going to affect the environment, that's going to affect the ecosystem, that's going to affect the way of life of the people in that territory. So that is the positive screening the Islamic finance industry must look at. You know, unfortunately, there was another study I can cite. There's not a single one Islamic bank belongs all this ethical banking index all over the world. They call good banking. There are different associations. Because you have to become a member, you have to have all this data projected. Hey, you guys are getting bored, I can see. What is Islamic finance? Anybody? You say, okay? Because you're smiling. Okay, let me move a little bit. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. Key observations of ethical finance and socially responsible investing. So, if you look at the ESG framework, there are group. They have a screening methodology financial institution they call Global Alliance for Banking on Values. This is what I was referring to. Not a single Islamic bank is part of this Global Alliance. Then you have the United Nations Global Compact. There in another set you have called ethical and SRI related products and services, and they call Green Finance Initiative SRI. Then another set is called ESG related indices. They call Dow Jones Sustainability Index, FTSE for Good Index, and then the ESG related capital market instruments. They call green bond, climate bonds, and so on. So these are, each of this category have their own screening methodology, how you decide who belongs to this group. When you talk about Islamic finance, what happens? Okay, you start with exclude business with haram elements. So you cannot engage into any activities which is forbidden. So you cannot buy or sell pork products because pork is haram. You can do alcohol. By the way, alcohol is halal here, right? I mean, a lot of alcohol shop, that's what I mean. And I didn't realize that Ankara is a very secular city compared to Konya, right? So you ensure business is aligned with the requirements of Sharia. You ensure the financial and other operational aspects are conducted within the permissible limits. So you have institutions, financial institutions, you have the instruments like the sukuk, you have the markets like Islamic financial markets, you have the Sharia compliant indices. So these are the important virtues we always talk about. Even if I bring these two major parties, ARC party and CHP, they all talk about honesty, right? Integrity, concern for others, justice, good governance, moral values, fairness in decision making, transparency, culture, accountability, then competence. But the difference is that we believe in universal value system that has been given to us by God. Yeah, it doesn't mean, because CHP, 99% Muslim country, they are Muslim too, but they have a different preference. Anyway, all is good, everybody should have a say, but ultimately good will prevail. There are verses after verses, Allah is protecting the Islam, but unfortunately we are not following the Islam. The West is following Islam better than we do. You know, seriously, I have been teaching for 34 years. I have never seen any student cheating. Even boyfriend, girlfriend sitting next to each other, they do not let each other see their exam paper. The guy flunked twice in my class, and the lady, of course, smarter, named to her, the ladies. They should really run our world. Our country is run by two ladies for the last, out of 50 years, 40 years, right? You had one time, Tansu Silar was you can probably do a comparative study, which the Turkish regime was better run. When you run by the ladies or the men. What I'm trying to make is that these values, I do not see. Right now, I can tell you cross-sectional, I do have a lot of international students. Every semester, because I'm also the graduate coordinator, I have to deal with few cases of cheating. And who are these people? Not the American students. These are the international students. The values that I'm talking about, that is part integral of Islam, and we are not following it. At the societal level, your labor, your rights, everything is so followed, and I wonder, I'm living in Islamic society here. Of course, I'm not talking the government, Congress, what they do, they double speak, they create all this problem all the world, but the societal level, their values, they have really borrowed from us. We started forgetting our own values, and they're starting adopting our values. There's a famous, I forgot the name of this Egyptian scholar. He, once, went to France, and then he came back. He said that, well, I'm very surprised I visited France. I see Islam, I saw Islam everywhere in France, but no Muslims. I come back to my country, I saw Muslims everywhere, but no Islam. So, you're probably getting bored. Islamic finance, it does contribute to financial stability. It is a comprehensive ecosystem. There are different Islamic finance ecosystems to support it. There are IFSB based in Kuala Lumpur. There are AOFI based in Bahrain. AOFI gives you the rules and regulations of accounting, finance, governance. And culture and ethics plays a role in every country, Islamic values. And you have the international supervisory structures to apply. The IMF and World Bank also supports this industry. So Islamic finance and ethical finance. So let's say you are an ethical finance person. There is no quarrel or division between ethical finance and Islamic finance. Both has long-term orientation and sustainability. They believe in financial inclusion. Ethical values are integral. Economic well-being is the objective, and preserving interest for the next generation. But there is a difference. What the difference? Ethical finance, they give more emphasis to the environment. They put the societal values, whatever it is, secular values. The Islamic finance is strongly anchored to the real economy, the strong built-in elements of financial stability. There have been studies done by using Refinitiv database. It has shown, so let's say you create a portfolio you want to do market study, portfolio analysis. So if you take a portfolio for the financial companies like banks, and you follow Islamic financial filters, the methodology, plus ESG methodologies, your rate of return is 6% higher for financial institutions and 10% higher for non-financial institutions. What does it mean? It means that Sharia and this ethical finance screening or ESG screening shows some correlation. So having those ethical principles into your framework or policy framework or operational value is value adding. It's not really value destructing. I have two more sections, okay? Now, how do you connect Islamic finance with SDG goal? What is it? So there are some numbers. You'll be really, read this number. 1 in 5 people still lacks access to modern electricity. I'm talking about the world figure. It's coming from the United Nations report. 836 million people still live in extreme poverty. Globally, 1 in 9 people in the world today, or almost 800 million, are undernourished. If you go to Bangladesh or part of Indonesia, the stunting, the growth of the child because of malnutrition. 103 million youth world lack basic literacy skill. They cannot read and write for poverty for many reasons. More than 6 million children still die before their 5th birthday each year. The child mortality. Water scarcity affects more than 40% of the global population and is projected to rise. The fresh or the pure drinking water, it has become very difficult. And 828 million people live in slums today, shanty town, and the number keeps increasing. So, a concept called impact investing or social business. You heard about Muhammad Yunus. He's a fellow Bangladeshi, got Nobel Prize. So he has popularized this model of social business. It is connected to someone invest in impact investing. So what is an impact investing? So it provides capital investment with a purpose, business designed with an intent. So I want to support socially responsible business. To create positive impact means to generate measurable positive social and environmental impact. Beyond financial return, expect financial return on investment. So the Islamic finance tools can be used also for SDG achievement because Islamic finance provides financial stability, inclusion, it reduces vulnerability, it protects the social and environmental activities, and it can be used in infrastructure finance. So Islamic Development Bank did a study. So it looked at 17 SDG goals. Those are study sustainability. And it is found that divided into 3 different segments. The first segment is infrastructure development and capacity building. The 8 SDG goals can be achieved through the Islamic financial tools. And what are the tools? Sukuk can be used or Islamic syndicated financing. Social development, the 6 SDG goals can be achieved by having Islamic social finance, zakat, waqf, microfinance. Now, unfortunately, the middle one, the Islamic social finance, are not studied enough. It should be emphasized in curriculum because it has more far-reaching impact on the society. And finally, you have the innovation because you are entering into information age, AI, and there are tools that can be used in order to achieve it. There are 6 SDGs can be achieved. And what are the tools? Private equity, venture capital, equity fund, crowdfunding. And crowdfunding, Indonesia is #1 right now, doing great work, And the crowdfunding model, you want to contribute little money you have because you have an objective, you want to promote something. This wonderful thing happening in this way. So I'll just give you 2 or 3 examples, the tools, impact to crowdfunding, for example. Islamic crowdfunding instrument, there are different platforms, and micro enterprises they can target. Microfinance, if you take, for example, Islamic microfinance and the financial inclusion. If you take, for example, value chain, the last one, Islamic venture capital finance, Islamic trade finance, cooperative, inclusive business employment. So there are tools, there are all those things. We need human capital, people. So we want to have an impact on the society, want to have an impact on the environment, having a living together peacefully, and Islamic finance can do that to you. I have a few more slides. Islamic finance as a value-based alternative, the starting point. So let's very quickly give you one-on-one. What is Islamic finance? Is rooted in divine law. It prohibits harmful transaction. It promotes economic justice. And economic justice not only for Muslims, is for everyone of all faith, all traditions, all way of life. Islamic finance promotes circulation of wealth, and interest concentrates wealth in a conventional finance. Commoditization, that is backed by real assets for real growth. So that means money cannot be traded for money. So there has to be intermediate part to it so that it promotes. So any type of Islamic financial tool or instrument has to be connected with something real, economic activity. Risk sharing, it does not transfer risk to the borrower. So it is not a zero-sum game, it is always positive-sum game, because we do a partnership type financing, risk sharing financing, it generates value. So if we compare two systems again, lending in a debt-based economy versus investing in an ethical, equity-based economy. What is it? In a debt-based economy is a win-lose framework, or we call this zero-sum game. So if a contract, one party gains, other party loses. But in a ethical, equity-based or risk-sharing finance, it is always a win-win framework or positive-sum game. In a debt-based system, financialization. In equity-based system, investment in real assets. In debt-based system, risk is always transferred. But in equity-based system, risk is shared. In debt-based system, unfair gains from profits and losses. And equity-based system, just and fair profits and loss sharing. In debt-based system, as I said, you should read Thomas Piketty's book, Inequality, that has been created over many years because of debt financing. But in Islamic system, it's a justice and equity. You know what I'm talking about, financialization, there's a number, it's a little bit old, 2010. The fictional financial economy is over 26 times larger than everything else produced on the earth. The amount of money or money derivatives, 26 times what the earth can produce. So all this money chasing in a limited amount of goods and services, and that is also cause of inflation. It is not only, every country is the same problem. So now, Islamic finance is a comprehensive system. How is it? It helps you to mobilize resources, and it can be done in Islamic commercial finance and Islamic social finance. So if you look at the top side, you have the corporations in a society. You have the high net worth individuals, very rich people. Then you have the affluent people. You have the upper middle class. You have the middle class. And they can use Islamic financial ecosystem like financial institution, SMEs and so on. They can get to the sukuk market, they can go to the equity market. But there are other class in the society, they are lower middle class, they are hardcore poor. So Islamic social finance and Islamic commercial finance has to work together in order to reduce this gap. And how that is being reduced? Lower middle class, you can have microfinance and micro-takaful. I do not know how big is the microfinance industry, Islamic microfinance or conventional in this country, but it's a big in Bangladesh. You know, that's what the Bangladesh is famous for. Mohammad Yunus got Nobel Prize because of Grameen Bank microfinance model. And you have the hardcore poor. How you can target this hardcore poor? You have the Islamic social finance like Zakat and Aqaf, Sadaqah and Qardul Hassan. So Waqf is an Islamic financial institution, but Islamic financial instrument, only one valid that has come directly from the Quran is the Qardul Hassan. But do you see the practice of Qardul Hassan? I don't see that. But in Pakistan, you should study this, it's called Aquat. That is founded by a physician, doctor, but it has made a big stride. So people give Qardul Hassan. So what is the definition of Qardul Hassan? I give a loan, like, you know, started with the definition is money. If you cannot pay it, I just forgive it. And I'll get the return in the day of the judgment. That practice of Qardul Hassan has to be improved in order to target those poor people in a society and so on. Now there are different challenges facing Islamic finance. You know, these are the regulators always talk about developing active legal, regulatory, supervisory Sharia framework, managing liquidity Islamic financial institutions. Liquidity is a big problem because of lack of Islamic-based short-term financial instruments. Now, you need to continue developing financial products that have positive impact on the economy, development Islamic microfinance for poverty alleviation, encouragement of financing income generation, Awqaf project, and the capacity building of Awqaf institutions, and commitment to apply Sharia, accounting and supervisory standards issued by specialized institutions. So, there are 4 challenges again. First one is communication gap. There is a misperception, misconception, misunderstanding and misplaced notions about Islamic finance. Everybody has a different take. It's like an, you know, blind man looking at an elephant and said, you know, leg is an elephant. So we need to remove this communication gap among the people, the society. There is a second one is called trust gap. Small business and impact investing should be emphasized to remove the tension among the stakeholders of the Islamic finance industry. If you look at, even take for example, there are 9 Islamic financial institutions in Turkey, Ziyad and Baki also they do. If you look at their source of funding is what? People like you and me put their money. But if you take the use of their fund, it's not you and me. The majority of this money goes to the big corporations. So what is the, you know, division? Because I need money too, right? SME, I have a small business. If you go to a Islamic bank, say, salute man, I'm not going to give you anything. I don't blame Islamic bank because it cannot take that level of risk because it is not allowed because it's a fiduciary institution regulated by the central bank. So we need to come up with an alternative, non-depository, non-banking financial mode in order to promote the essence of Islamic finance. You have the innovation gap. The balance between macro and micro makassid should be maintained, the so-called form versus substance financial engineering. So you may come up with a product, at a micro sense, the product is Sharia compliant, but when you take in aggregate, in macro sense, it does more harm to the society than it solves it. And finally, talent gap. A new brand of scholars who are well versed in Islamic jurisprudence and secular financing technique and mechanisms must be nurtured. You know, this is a big problem. So me, I come from the conventional background. I have, you know, of course I can read Quran, but I never went to religious school. You know, all of my training and my thought process have been living there 40 years. I went at the age of 19. So I come from a conventional background, but somehow I want to study, I want to give and understand because I believe in it. But I don't have this Sharia background the way I should have. So working knowledge of Arabic language, for example, read the original text, I lack this. So I always have to depend on secondary sources. But if I had this knowledge, and my knowledge from the conventional background, I could be a better scholar, that I always feel. On the other hand, the majority of the industry are run by the Sharia scholars. They don't know the modus operandi of the banking and finance. So when you develop a curriculum, you should develop the curriculum in such a way, 2-in-1. I would say 3-in-1 right now because of the technology, Sharia, banking, plus technology. So if you combine these three, the new breed of the scholars or the workforce will be more contributing to the development and growth of the Islamic finance industry. Final slide. So, Islamic finance is a value-based finance. What? We want to do a paradigm shift. That's what I'm saying. There will be one point, there will be a big fight between the conventional ecosystem and Islamic ecosystem. What is our objective? We want to go from instability to stability. Everybody wants stable. I want a stable financial system. We want to move away from deception to transparency. But unfortunately, Islamic finance industry is probably one of the most non-transparent industry. If you want to do empirical work, you want to get data, they will not give you the data. We have a problem, but you need to, this is our objective, this is our mission or goal. We want to go from deregulation to regulation, and finally, we want to go from a value-neutral position to timeless values that is good for everyone, all faith tradition, everybody lives happily ever after in a paradise on this earth. Thank you very much. So I started with 100 people, I lost 50 in between. Still, it's a success, 50-50, right? 50 plus 1, majority. Any question? I think they understood everything. I think we should give you an exam. Yeah.
My name is Murat. I am from Political Science Department. It is a privilege for us to listen to you. I have a question. If I am right from your speech, you believe that Turkish low interest policy could be successful unless COVID-19 or war happened, right? So, what about the LOI? I mean, is it not like practicing Islam in a church? They are connected to the world. They are, based on non-Islamic rules. But if we follow up, an Islamic policy for such a system, is it possible to be successful? Because we are connected to the world, we are not a closed economy. I just want to learn.
Yeah, there will be, it's a growing pain, yes. Turkey is an open economy, it's a export-based economy. You know, Turkey produces 420, last figure that in different types of exportable items, to 120 different countries. So that question is always raised, how you deal with this. And now the question, it's a very wonderful question. I'm not a Sharia scholar. So we need some Sharia guidance. Unfortunately, our Sharia scholars are not skilled enough, or their training is so inadequate that they cannot answer this type of rising questions. So one answer I can give you, being a non-Sharia scholar, I try the best I can internally, follow Islamic finance principle, create instrument, create institutions. When I deal with external, the market, because they do not follow Islamic finance, and I understand, you know, when it is a situation like this, maybe it's allowed because it's a question of your macroeconomic condition and so on, but with a despair in your heart says that yes, I'm doing it, it's not right, that I'm doing it for the sake of, you know, having this economy running. So, to summarize what I'm saying, yes, you can do on the basis of international norm when you deal with the outside world, but you should also try to enforce your way of doing business with us. Let me give an example. Halal meat, the beef. Do you produce all of your beef in Turkey? I am targeting 100% food sufficient, right? But why is the food inflation growing if you produce everything here? What happens? You sell your food to outside world for more money? No. Let me come back. Do you know which is the biggest exporter of halal beef in the world? Australia. Who was the second largest? Brazil. Who was the third largest? India. Do you know in India, cow is revered as a god. It's the third largest country selling halal beef to the rest of the world. So, point I'm trying to make, like just an example. So let's say I import beef from India. I can force upon them, I want to see how that beef is being the value chain. Because the beef producer, they raise cattle, this and that. Where do you get the money? And what sort of money you are using? Are you using halal money? That means Islamic financial way of money, or you are using conventional finance money. And you can force them, and that will create a secondary industry in their own country. They will produce this halal finance. Actually, in Brazil, they are facing this problem because they sell beef to the GCC countries, and many GCC people, they are saying, man, I'm eating this halal beef with halal haram money. I think this is not right. And they are forcing directly, you try to find an alternative source of financing so that you combine halal money with halal beef. So, and I went to one of the conferences, they're asking, give us a solution. So they want to do halal financing, but they are not finding those institutions. So I'll just give you one example where we can put our will to the other parties to follow our way of doing financing. Yes.
Hi, Professor. Firstly, welcome to our university, and thank you for explanations and coming to our university. I will ask you a simple question. Is putting our money into cryptocurrency market haram in Islam? What is the general provision in Islam?
Man, you always ask me difficult question.
Professor Hassan is not mufti, you know.
No, but I do have some papers. There are two schools of thought. You know, one school of thought say that the crypto is not mal, and because of it's not a mal, the rules of the Sharia rules doesn't apply, so it is not really permissible. The other group says that no, you can use this mal, but ultimately remember one of the things I said here, the macro maqasid here, and the last one, the innovation, the macro and micro. So this is a new instrument, innovation. We should look at, we should not really say it haram right away. Because whenever something new comes in, it takes time to understand how fully it operates. So the instrument itself, the crypto or this financial product or fintech type of thing, these are not haram per se to begin with. But the question is how these are being used and what is the end result of those. So the muftis are studying this. I know there are very great scholars, and I follow Mufti Faraz Adam. You just Google his name. He's a very big scholar. He's a modern scholar, 2-in-1. Knows Sharia comes from a conventional one. So he gives his videos. If you want to study more, I'm also learning like you. So my position is ambivalent. My position is don't declare them haram right away. Give them a space, try to understand and see what it does. Then you come up with the fatwa.
some of hujjat or something else don't think that investing our money into cryptocurrency market is haram.
It's not haram.
Yeah, some of them don't say anything about that topic. They just say that it is not permissible.
Yeah, you know, everyone, they say that if you look at their argument, or logic behind it, they have to give an explanation. The explanation is not very convincing either. So that's why I'm confused myself. If you Google my name, I also have written 2 or 3 papers. So I put down all the, you know, schools of thought, what they think, and I give my conclusion. My conclusion is, let it go. Don't, you know, ban it. I'm not talking about, you know, cryptocurrency probably is forbidden by your government, right? You cannot. Bitcoin is allowed in Turkey?
Yes.
You allow Bitcoin? Or Turkey is limited. Many countries is not allowed, like China, for example. So there are pros and cons. The point is, even if I ask you, let's say, it's a new thing comes to the market. So I should not blame the Sharia scholars because it takes time to understand the phenomenon, how it operates, what impact it does. So read my paper, okay? I even forgot what I have written in my paper. But one thing I know that I was confused more than gave a definitive answer.
Okay, the last question. We will go to lunch. Okay, question? No question. SB, I appreciated meeting with Professor Hassan. I would like to give a simple present to you, okay? When you look at this one, not small, big one, please remember us, remember this faculty, and remember these students, okay?